to ban Muslims from the country, and none of his wishes have come true. So we're just here to commiserate with him. It's a sad birthday.
The way he fired Comey is another reason to be like, what the hell's going on, right? And again, the Republicans support him in that. They're already making excuses for him of why he might be able to fire Mueller, and that it would be an acceptable thing for him to do. The man has got to go.
All right, let's come back to Kenya. And the controversy over ballots for the August elections continued Wednesday as NASA demanded the cancellation of a printing tender to a Dubai firm. The opposition also demanded the resignation of Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission CEO Ezra Chiloba and Elections Operations Director Immaculate Kasait, whom they accused of acting in cahoots with State House in procurement of the tender to Ghurair printing firm.
Option for IEBC is to cancel this tender and award it in accordance with the law to any other reputable international printers that are not associated with any stakeholder in the next election.
We evaluated, looked at all factors, looked at the possibility of, looked for a company which can print all the 130 million ballot papers in one factory. And it's the only company we came up with which can do that process. We didn't want to have a split tender where you have 3 or 4 companies printing ballot papers for elections in this country, because that is a recipe for rigging.
We want the IEBC to award the contract for printing of ballot papers to any company. Hata wakitaka kupatia kampuni ya Spectre ya Raila Odinga wapatie. Sisi tutashinda uchaguzi.
All right, and that leads us to our to-the-poll question this morning. We're asking, do you think there is something sinister of the awarding of that tender to the Dubai-based firm that's Ghurair? Do you read the sinister motive in awarding ballot paper printing contract to Ghurair? Tweet us at KTN News, at Sophia Wanuna. We'd like to hear from you this morning. All right, and our reporter Rita Tinina is following this story for us and now joins us from our city centre studios. Rita, good morning. Now, I understand the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has called for a meeting with the presidential candidates. Could it be as a result of this ballot papers contract award?
Well, Sophia, good morning. Yes, indeed, that meeting with the IEBC and the presidential candidates are expected to raise the concerns that they have, whether on the ballot papers or any other concerns they have ahead of the elections. This is the second meeting that the IEBC will be having with those seeking the presidency. But the initial meeting, remember, was just when they were aspirants. By then, the IEBC had not cleared the candidates. That was before they presented their nomination papers, and the IEBC then cleared the 8 presidential candidates who are expected to meet with the IEBC this morning or send their representatives. President Uhuru Kenyatta will be sending a representative. He is away campaigning in the Rift Valley. We also understand that the NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga will also be sending a representative, but we are hoping the other presidential candidates, Ekuru Aukot of the Third Way Alliance, Abdu Badida of the Alliance for Real Change, Cyrus Jirongo of the United Democratic Party, as well as the other 3 independent candidates, Joseph Nyaga, Japheth Kavinga, as well as Michael Wainaina, will also be coming or sending their representatives. The IEBC, as you saw in that clip, saying the concerns raised by the opposition on the awarding of the ballot paper tender cannot be addressed at this time. The IEBC saying it is too late in the day to cancel that tender and to award a fresh tender. Sophia.
Right. Also talk to us, Rita, about what we've heard so far from NASA in as far as this tender is concerned, because Ghurair came into the headlines last year, and this is a company that has been part of a court process and as far as procurement is concerned, and also what Jubilee is saying so far.
Well, Sophia, good morning. Yes, indeed, that meeting with the IEBC and the presidential candidates are expected to raise the concerns that they have, whether on the ballot papers or any other concerns they have ahead of the elections. This is the second meeting that the IEBC will be having with those seeking the presidency. But the initial meeting was just when they were aspirants. By then, the IEBC had not cleared the candidates. That was before they presented their nomination papers, and the IEBC then cleared the 8 presidential candidates who are expected to meet with the IEBC this morning or send their representatives. We also understand that the NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga will also be coming or sending a representative, but we are hoping the other presidential candidates, Ekuru Aukot of the Third Way Alliance, Abdu Badida of the Alliance for Real Change, Cyrus Jirongo of the United Democratic Party, as well as Michael Wainaina, will also be coming or sending their representatives. The Well, Ghurair, the first time it came into the spotlight. Last year it was awarded the contract. By then the IEBC was conducting the tendering process through open tender. The Ghurair firm, Dubai-based firm, then won the contract among other 9 firms that had bidded for the tender. But then NASA had not come into place. Court then challenged that decision by the IEBC, went to the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board, then went to the High Court, and the High Court declared that contract null and void and directed the IEBC to do a fresh tendering process. When the IEBC then began the fresh process, it did so through restricted tender. But even before they could award the tender, there was a petition against that. That as well was nullified. And then the IEBC saying, looking at the time, they did not have an option than to go through private tendering, direct tendering, I beg your pardon. And that is how they settled on Ghurair. And they're saying they were informed by various things. They say Ghurair, it is not the first time that they will be printing papers for Kenya. They say the past 2 by-elections or so, the Ghurair company was the one that delivered ballot papers to Kenya. They say in terms of their farm profile, they say it is a large company. It can be able to print all those 130 million ballot papers given the little time that is remaining. The ballot papers are set to start printing. The farm is set to start printing the ballot papers on the 25th of this month. And yesterday, the IEBC saying it can, in fact, fly all the presidential candidates to Dubai to witness as the farm begins to print those ballot papers. And so the IEBC really defending the Ghurair company. NASA had claimed that this is a company associated with senior Jubilee officials, claiming that last year those officials went to Dubai to meet members of the Ghurair farm, and that as well members of that farm then came to Kenya where they also met senior Jubilee officials. NASA claiming that these senior officials have had contact with Ghurair for the past 3 years, and they were saying indications were that then the IEBC from the word go knew it was going to issue this contract to Ghurair, bearing in mind that the first instance the tender was cancelled, and still at the end of the day the farm was issued with the tender despite the concerns that NASA had raised. So this morning in that meeting that is expected to start in less than 1 hour, so we expect that issue of the ballot papers will come up. We're expecting that the IEBC perhaps will defend its position, show cause why then it cannot begin the tendering process afresh. And we hope perhaps the presidential candidates or their representatives then will come to a consensus, because the IEBC is arguing if they start that process afresh, then the country may not have elections in August. Sophia.
Yes, Rita. And finally, talk to us about the Jubilee position, what they're saying, because we saw that newspaper article with a picture of the president meeting one of the officials from Ghurair, and there's all sorts of linkages, as you've mentioned to us, between the Jubilee administration and other officials or personalities in Jubilee with this company. What are they saying?
Jubilee, of course, denying any links between Ghurair and the Jubilee officials. But the Jubilee government, Deputy President William Ruto saying if the Ghurair is the issue, then the tender can be given to anyone else. There in that clip that played earlier on saying even if it's Raila